Hello, everyone. Bienvenidos. Welcome to RevvED Up. RevvED Up is a live stream series, for those of you that don't know, where we highlight individuals in our community who are making a difference and doing boots on the ground work to make our communities better and stronger. Recently, we created the Impacto Changemaker Awards, and we awarded 25 leaders in our community making an impact. We have already interviewed most of them here already, and today is our final RevvED Up Impacto Changemaker edition. And today we have our final guest with us, who is known to be a DJ, artist, music producer, and entrepreneur. We have Frank Musquiz, aka FK Menace. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, man. I'm the last one, and I love it. Like,
Yep. You're going out with a bang.
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like almost like the underdog way. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's hit it out with the bang. Let's talk. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. We are so happy that you are here joining us today on RevvED Up. And it's truly an honor. And of course, we just want to continue to highlight your story and be able to do that today and right now. So let's go ahead and get right into it and get to know you a little better. So just please tell us who you are. What are some of the things that you do? I mentioned the different titles you fall under: DJ, artist, etc. So you are likely to wear multiple hats. So just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. It's been a journey since for 10 years since I moved to Kansas City. It was originally I'm originally from San Antonio, so moved to Kansas City in 2012. Started out as a painter, going to the Art Institute, and then from there, became a DJ, became a producer. Then pandemic-wise came through that whole situation. Then I became a photographer, videographer, and then now recently with you guys, became an activist. So, it's been a very progressive journey and very blessed journey to be able to be, in the community, wearing these different hats and getting my hands into different situations and just really being true to myself and what I represent. So, so that's just a short version, pretty much.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we'll get a little bit more deep into each
For
title.
sure.
But yeah, you certainly do a lot. You certainly keep yourself busy, and you're always doing something that you're passionate about and something that you love to do. And I think that's what makes your work and your drive, so inspirational. And you're a creator, for instance, and you're definitely creating many opportunities, not just for yourself though, but for other people too. And we definitely love to see it. So you mentioned all that you currently do. Now tell us maybe your journey on how you got to where you are. You said you started at the Art Institute. You're from San Antonio, and then you came over here for the Art Institute. So just talk about a little bit about your journey, maybe starting from grade school even, because as an organization who works to provide support for education, we kind of want to hear a little bit about your educational background as well. Maybe go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
That's super dope, by the way. You guys are going back on those further, because I feel like childhood was definitely essential to what I do now. Just really figuring out who I was, or even what I like to do. I always had this way of like trying to like fit into different crowds and things like that. So when I kind of hit like 5th grade is when I hit like that artist start. My first piece was in a gallery where it was just something simple, but I think just that opportunity to have something within a gallery with other kids was just super, fulfilling. And to be able to have these compliments and different things, I'm like, okay, I'm good at this. I can do, I can draw, I can color, I can, paint and things like that. So essentially, like throughout middle school and high school was definitely an entry to the School of the Arts. My school was a magnet program essentially. So we did, cinema, creative writing, plays and things like that. And then the arts, of course, even like the orchestra situation. So, with the teacher I had, she was definitely like a second mom. And then a lot of the students that were there, It was definitely like we were just like a tight knit family. Um, we eventually, most of us all went to art school, but to this day, I think we are the only class that didn't complete art school. Like nobody fell into that realm of things. So it's a little weird, but we all kind of took a turn to do different things and also do art related things. So yeah, I mean, pretty much when I came here on a scholarship at the Art Institute for painting, and just really. Um, for a short version, I'll just say like it was my ticket out of San Antonio, just because besides growing up as an artist, there's things in your childhood that make it definitely a rough situation. So I was just itching to get out, start something fresh, start something new. Didn't care where, new city. So to be able to go to Kansas City was definitely like a culture shock, because there weren't other kids like me. There weren't other Latinos, and nor did I know any in how Kansas City worked at all. Period. But I ended up meeting kids that were from all over. We had some of the same tastes and values and things like that, and you know, essentially just became really cool with everybody. I fortunately did not complete the Art Institute. I think I dropped out after a year and a half and just started to pursue my own things. But I think one of the great things was that I'm a consistent learner and observer. So I was able to learn some of like the design aspects that I do now from my peers. And, as they were going to school, I was kind of going to school with them, through them. And so that was like the official start of me just like really taking that lead to just be like, hey, this is my decision and I'm going with that. So, but yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for providing a little bit about your educational background. I think that's definitely interesting and important to include, because the work that we do here at the organization, that's what we try to do, is bring that representation into these certain fields. And so I guess my next question is just kind of going into that representation. So for you, why does representation matter to you? But more specifically, why does it matter for you in the art field and music field?
Yeah, representation matters, because I think ultimately, like, it's your being. It's like who you are. Like, and I feel like that's like who you are. Like, you can't fake that. And I feel like if you lead with that and the passion that you, convey with whatever it is that you do, even if you're not an artist, but more so specifically as an artist, how you represent yourself, how you put yourself out there, the things that you do, that you intake from your experiences within art, do help a lot of people. Like, people look at art and they, you know, depending on what it is, they shed some tears or share some laughs or things like that. And that's something that, is powerful within itself. Like, art speaks loudly, it's like the saying, like a picture speaks 1,000 words. And for people, like, it hits home to where they ultimately make a huge decision in their life, or, um, you know, encourage them to start painting again, or different things. I don't know how many times I've dealt with different artists that inspired me to be like, you know what, like, keep going, or whatever. And that's because their representation and where they come from was true to themselves. And it's like, you know what, I'm seeing somebody that's in my same position, like somebody that's like me doing it. It's no different from watching films and movies nowadays, where there's representation of somebody who finally, either as African American, Latino, that kids can be like, oh man, that character looks exactly like me. Like, I feel fulfilled, or I feel like I can relate. So that all pretty much ties in with the mask. The mask came later on during, I would say, I've probably been wearing the mask for probably 2.5 years. So representation in my family and where I come from was super important and super um, challenging to embrace at first, just because it's like, all right, to do with the mask on, like, I don't wrestle, so it's like, how am I gonna, like, put this out there? But staying true to what I do and really just combining those was like huge. Like, I was like, all right, I found my niche. Like, I know what I love, I know what's passionate, I know what's true to me. How do I put that out there for the world to see, and really push and pull for myself? So yeah.
I love that. No, I think that's perfect how you talked about that and how you described how you went through other people for your schooling for to learn
For sure.
things. Yeah, I think that's important. That also ties into the representation you're talking about.
Yep.
And I know, yeah, you definitely talked brought up the mask. And so I know a lot
Yep.
of people are probably watching this or will watch this and may wonder, yeah, what is the luchador mask you wear? So
Yeah.
maybe yeah, just go a little bit deeper into it and tell us, yeah, what is the significance of the mask to you and your work?
For sure. So the mass started out in the late '60s. My uncle, he was Lemos Primero. He came from a luchador by the name of Sangre Chicana, which was very very popular. Really had a rough style of lucha libre. Really like selfish and actually threw mad punches at people that just didn't care about anything. And he had that persona. And my uncle was really just training with him early back in the day. And he's like, you're you got the height, you got the build. I think you're more than ready. I think if you take my old mask, with these set of colors and go under my name, my old name Lemos, and once that kind of took off, they started traveling together, doing things together, and then ultimately my dad started secretly training in the '80s, in high school, just really kind of doing his thing, and not telling my uncle about his background training, just because he was just like, what, like, I don't think you should, whatever. But my dad was really passionate and really wanted to do that. So it came time to throw down, and my uncle showed up and saw him in the ring, and he's like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, and it pretty much got the approval. He's like, all right, cool. Like, you're Lemos Dos now. So my uncle had, his son, my cousin, became Lemos Jr. Um, my immediate uncle, like within the fam, he was Lemos Tres, but ultimately became a neighborhood hero of San Antonio and named himself El Latino. So he's the only one without the mask.
Wow.
So it's a long, generations of lucha libre that is within my family. And the lineage is real. Some people look at the mask and like, hey, that's kind of a gimmick, or it's, why are you wearing it? But it's something that I'm super proud of. That there's not many kids like me that grew up in that, and just to be able to go to these lucha libre shows and experience that and just be a part of that was just the best. That made my childhood the best. And nowadays, I don't wrestle. I've never stepped in the ring, only to be introduced as El Hijo de Lemos Dos, or FK Menace, whatever. And I think that moment was even special within itself. But once I found my passion and tried to build a brand, I'm like, you know what, like, I need to embrace this mask, and I feel like I could just do so much with it, and very much implement certain aspects of the lucha libre storyline, in a sense, or type of events, or even flyers, boil that down and kind of transfer that to the DJ world and figure out how I can brand it that way. Um, and here I am now. Representation matters, of course. So I strive to just really represent us instead of just myself. Like, I'm representing the family. So everything I do in the community or for myself is really geared towards, like, okay, how do we work as individuals within our family? Like, are we keeping the same attitude, the same structure of things? Like, are we being respectable? Are we being like on top of our A game? Really just like gunning down on that. And of course, just being a good people, being a good person, of course, not just because of the mask, but just keeping that tradition alive. And anything I do art wise, like, am I representing them there? So I started coming out with stickers and tapes that involve their sounds of music, or even live interviews within the music that I make and things like that. So to show the story, to show the continuation of here's a timeline of things, and here's how we did get started, and again, just really pushing the narrative so that people know, and for years to come as well. So
Definitely. No. That's awesome. That's awesome that you can still find ways to represent your family, your dad, and just those values and beliefs that you know as a family hold, and everything that they have instilled in you, you know, throughout your lifetime. And so
For sure.
you're now applying that, yeah, to your own work, and you know, using that representation for sure. So I think that's awesome and definitely inspiring. And do you still do some collabs or stuff with your dad and uncle? I know you've gone out to their shows and DJ'd. Is that correct?
Honestly, that's funny that you say that. I have not yet.
Wow.
My dad was actually, spitting that idea. Hey, my dad will forever just want to pay for it. Like it's for him, it's just never free. It don't matter how much free merch I give him. He's like, no, like I'm giving you money. But we had discussed it. He was like, yo, I'll pay you however much amount of money for 15 minutes of playtime. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, I just want you to play like the cuts that we like as like, me and him. And so I was like, all right. But we didn't land on a date. And I just had my crew's 1 year anniversary party, so that happened to be the same day that he was wrestling, and that was supposed to be like the first time that I would come out DJ for him and things like that. So haven't done it yet. As far as collabs, there's not really anything that we've done yet. I know my cousin Lemos Jr. He put out a Lemos Mezcal that came out about a couple years ago, so I got to try that for the first time this past weekend. And then just any merch that I do, I just kind of implement like things that kind of come from years ago that I still remember as a kid to kind of input in that, whether it's a merch or the music itself. So but no official collaborations. Maybe one on the mask, like a certain mask, but I'm hesitant because my dad has a certain way of doing his mask, and I kind of want to have my own pizzazz on it, on how I do my masks. So
Mhm.
I've got some really really dope designs in the works. One idea I'll give you is I definitely want to do a Royals themed one where it's all gold with a blue stripe, just my homage to Kansas City. But we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then you can later go down the line and do your, you know, more Kansas City teams, and as well as San Antonio, maybe even tie it in together
yeah,
somehow.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
cool. It'd be cool. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Some dope ideas. I'm excited.
Yes, no, definitely. I know you have a lot, yeah, going on. So I'm kind of gonna switch gears a little. And I, with all the work that you do in the community, you know, you're out here working in these fields and environments. So what are some of like the notable issues that you see or needs that you see in these communities that you work in and that you serve?
You know, I'll always tell people, the main mission wasn't to change the community. It was always just to kind of find who I was first and then lead with that. But one thing I did notice as far as being a part of the community as a producer was that there wasn't a lot of representation and love for producers, given the fact that producers are just as strong as an MC or, rapper. So that was kind of like the small point of things. And when that boiled down to it, I'd started the event Sábados, about a year and a half ago, and that was definitely geared towards producers, which is super important to me to be able to continue to give that platform for that specific community. Um, as time went on, the vendors ended up coming through and things like that. During the pandemic, I picked up the whole camera situation and thought, these new businesses that are coming up, these people who have, really sat down with themselves and were like, hey, I'm either going to quit my 9 to 5 or I'm going to have my 9 to 5 and start my real passion. Those people end up coming out and, needing a place to sell, needing content material. So ultimately coming together to be like, hey, let's work together. And then let's, push that within an event itself, but also keep the same mission for the producers itself. So that was my first issue. Over time, I think Kansas City has grown to be more in collaborative efforts rather than the one line situation. Hey, you stay over here, I'll do my thing kind of deal. So we're starting to see a lot more collaboration. That was like the biggest issue I'd say overall. But we're starting to get there. You know what I'm saying? We're starting to open up a little bit more. Again, pandemic helped and affected everybody, very differently. But ultimately, you're starting to see a lot more pop-ups go down and things like that. So right now, I don't see a crazy amount of issues yet because I feel like we're still starting to get our feet wet a little bit. So the potential is there, the progression is there. It's just a matter of like where we're going to take it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we're the Midwest, so we take a lot from different coasts. You know, like we can't survive if we or we can't make it if we don't hit those coasts. Like we do have the ability to make an impact. Um, you know, within that community of, or within the city of Kansas City, because we're definitely powerful. I mean, we're the number one remote city to work in the nation.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a lot of happenings around that, you know, are starting to pop up that is starting to affect different communities, and it's allowing other communities to come together and be like, okay, well, if this is major thing is happening here, how do we tailor around that? How do we get together and join forces and do things? And I think that within itself is beautiful. So right now, like I personally don't see any issues yet, more than what I know for myself in a sense. But I know what I really wanted to see was the collaborative efforts, and I feel like we are starting to see that. So yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. I know the city's growing so much because I feel like just every time I go back, there's always something new, some new event, some new venue, some new
for sure.
restaurant. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, we'd love to see it. And I definitely feel like you are also helping bridging that gap with when it comes to collaborations.
I
Like,
appreciate that.
yeah.
One thing I'll definitely say is that, you know, if you I always say is like if you're gonna be an artist to the fullest extent. Know that you have the power to unlock other genres of art. Like you're not just one thing. And know that there's so many resources to have those many hats. You know, there it's unlimited. We have the internet. You know what I'm saying? But there's also people that are going through the same things that want somewhat of the same things. And I think ideally if there is an issue that I would see, it's having people not be in the same room as people that you would normally be in with. So my mission is to put those people together. Like, hey, I see you and y'all have never met, but y'all need to collab, or y'all need to talk, or y'all need to just to be able to have that conversation is super important. To be able to put people in uncomfortable spaces. Like one thing I learned from sales world is like get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Because like we're not going to be able to make changes if we're not talking and we're not moving and we're not shaking hands with people. And me coming from Texas to Kansas City, like I always felt like I was like a middle ground dude that didn't really fit on any side. You know, more importantly, I don't speak Spanish fluently. I know some of you might hate me now, but it's all good. You know what I'm saying? We're all headed to the same mission here. We're all here to vibe and make something happen for the city, which and that's super important. So again, my mission is to really like narrow it down and be like, hey, let's you come here, let's work, let's have a ball, and hopefully that'll influence and spark up more conversations to go, and we can start to progress. So
No, definitely, and that's definitely what you're out here doing every day.
for sure.
Definitely the connector, yeah, making those connections between
Thank you.
people, networking, and yeah, of course. And so that's what I kind of want to get into a little is the events that you host. You talked a little bit about Sabados. Then of course you have your shows at the ship.
Yeah,
Really frequently. So yeah, just maybe tell us a little bit about what exactly you're doing out here in the
man,
community.
I'm so excited. Sabados has been a blessing. You know, it's been a blessing to just be able to work with somebody who, you know, is Carlos from Boyle, to be able to trust me into throwing something and also kind of be the face of it. You know,
Mhm.
um, I I can't thank him enough because it's allowed me to connect with people that I've been wanting to connect with. It's you know, it's allowed my family to come down and visit and really see what I'm doing as far as, you know, working with the community. As you know, for instance, my mom just came down, you know, for the second, third time. And you know, she thought I was just a part of the event. She didn't know I was running it, and that like blew her away. And she's like, "Whoa, I took this all wrong." You know what I'm saying? Because my family, they live over here and I live over there, so it's like it's different. But for them to be able to see that was huge. For me to support and have people come out and support the local vendors that are out there is super huge. And of course, keeping that producer community alive. And also like more so like um, I'm like really excited, and it fulfills my heart to say that I've given people their first start to do something. So whether it's their first time vending or it's their first time performing, like I've been able to do that, and I'm just like I'm blown away because I'm like, man, like that's just as good as winning an award. You know what I'm saying? Like it was your first bet. Like how can I make it your second, third, fourth, fifth? You know, like where can we put you? You know, I've now created like a whole roster and where to put people, or just choose and select from. Like, hey, I got this show, you should be here. I got this show, even if I'm not a part of it. I'm just like it's the opportunity that I want to just give that person to go out and make their money, and again to go out and be with an entirely different community. Um, so that's that portion. The ship, you know, within the DJ community, you know, peace to my homie Shepa. He definitely gave me the start as, you know, I think it'd be next week would be a year since I first started at the ship. He invited me to play with this group of DJs. There was an entirely big party. We ended up selling it out. It was great. He hit me up. He's like, I see the hustle, the motivation, like your brand, everything. I love it. I think you should be a part of, you know, what I'm doing. And then ultimately the ship saw the same thing, and absolutely we just loved everything I did. And so um, much love to the ship. They're very accommodating people, a very good venue, and they're very an open-minded venue because they don't shun out like, you know, even the weirdest of the weirdest bands. Like they want more DJs, they want more Latin expression, they want more, um, you know, African American expression. You know, they want indie rock bands. I mean, they want a little bit of everything, and that's the thing. It's like the way I look at it is like, you know, Kansas City just is a blank canvas searching for an identity. So right now we're like wanting new and fresh ideas to just really create that identity here. And, you know, with the leverage that I've built with them, with the love that I've built with them, they're like, hey, if you want to book somebody, you can. So that's allowed me to book my crew, night shift crew here in San Antonio. It's 5 of us. We got a chance to take over both rooms last year in July, killed the show. You know, to the point where people are chanting my crew's name, you know, like they loved it. And my crew has never experienced that love as well, because again, San Antonio is a different culture. So for them to be fresh on the block and just get blown away on both ends was amazing. And for that within itself, like it's allowed me to have, you know, again, more leverage to be like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do this, bring ideas. So to be able to have that artistic freedom and not shun that down is like, yes, like that's my heart right there. Like if you're not cutting me, like if you're not limiting me, then like it's all game. Like we're in it. But once that limitation comes down, I'm just like, man, I don't know. Like I don't really feel comfortable. Like I feel like you're stopping me from doing truly what I want to do. So right now, the mission at the ship is I'm doing this series called Mueve, and I did Mueve Volume 1. It was just me, you know, playing 4 hours in the big room. This past one I did with Juan Carlos and Making Movies, which was super nerve wracking, but he was doing live percussion over my DJing. I said, look, bro, I switch a lot of genres. Like, I'm just letting you know. He goes, look, I'll follow. You know, here I am questioning a master, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, we rocked that. We rocked the show. 4 hours, nobody moved, nobody left. Like, I mean, I don't even think anybody used the restroom, you know? So it was amazing. We tore it down. The next one I'm doing is a Halloween cannabis one with Max Groove this weekend, and then Mueve Volume 3 will come back with me and DJ Ness. So the main mission there is to start to bring in and collaborate with different Latino DJs within the community, and just try to put them in this, you know, specific space. Just because some of those DJs are located in different areas that pertain to more Latino crowds, and the shit is available to all crowds. And since I'm not really geared just to the Latino crowds, and it's the same thing with Sabados, um, it's just based where I come from. Um, I wanted to make it all inclusive because I know like other Latino DJs don't just listen to Latino music all day, day in and day out. They have other different flavors, and sometimes they don't get to play that. So for me, being that type of DJ, that style of DJ, where I play everything from Brazilian to cumbia to Latin trap to just regular trap to throwbacks, you know, I'm mixing in everything, house music. I have some DJs that are like, yo, I want to do that too. Bet, let's collaborate. Let's see what we can put up. So Mueve series at the ship once a month. Um, I drop flyers all the time, so just be on the lookout for those. So yeah.
Yeah, no, you definitely have a lot going on. You're just out here doing so much to again bridge that gap of collaboration and
For sure.
working together for sure. And I love how, yeah, you mentioned that, it's not just Latino community, it's a little bit of everyone,
For sure.
very diversified in the communities that you target. But although you do still highlight, a lot of Latinos, and of course that's part of your identity and culture too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely still imply that in your work. And so, yeah, I love how you also can see the impact you're creating, when you step back for a minute and look back and think, oh, wow, like I'm doing this. This is me. And so
Definitely.
I love that. Yeah, you could still, sometimes you get so mixed up, in the work that we don't take the time to, yeah, look back and think like, oh, wow, like, I did a lot, and I'm proud of myself for doing all that. So
And
I think,
you know what? And not to cut you off, but just
no,
before I lose my thought, like I did, like in this journey, like me personally to you, I want to thank you for linking me up with certain people and certain players that have affected me to this day. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain relationships that I cherish and I hold because of you. And even, you may have not even been in the same room to introduce me, but you know, there's times when you're just like, hey, here's this guy on Instagram. You guys should link,
mhm.
So that influence within itself has come from you to allow me to do just the same, which is just amazing to me. So I always give my props to you and how we met and how we got started and things like that. And just everything that you've done for the community as well has definitely impacted me. So it's definitely full circle. I don't ever want to forget that. I want to let you know that from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you for sure. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. And I mean, that's what I'm here for. That's what you're here for. That's what we're here for, is to create that community and make those connections, help others out and support each other. And so
for sure.
glad that, yeah, we're both continuing to do that work, and of course still working together as well. And so, yeah, it's just great to see, and awesome. It
Yeah.
definitely. And so I guess, yeah, my next question, we'll start wrapping things up here in a little bit, but yeah, just my last question is just, what kind of advice do you have for those that do want to also do the same, pursue the same maybe path or career as you, as well as just be out in the community, engaged in the community, for especially for those that may not even, have a leverage yet, and still are trying to figure it out. So what kind of advice do you have
You
for them?
know, I could be like, yeah, like follow your heart, all this other stuff. While that is in it, really work on your internal works, your internal self, your shadow work, the stuff that you hold on to. Try to eliminate that fear, try to just, really figure yourself out and who you are and what you want to represent or what kind of things you want to say in the world or how you want to stand in this world. I think ultimately, like I went through a lot of mental health stuff and a lot of deciding and it's just me in this city. I really didn't have any family to really grasp onto day in and day out, so trying to figure out like who I was and what I wanted to embrace and what I was passionate about, and trying to put in that that 10 hours of work to get there, and just consistently trying to show up for others as well. I always tell people, is like, if there's people that you show love to, that you want to support. There's many events, and nowadays there's just so many different events going on. Like, stop by for 20 minutes to an hour. Like, even if it's just to say hi, like, just start showing that support and that love, so that we can kind of keep the ball rolling. Like your face is recognizable, or you're talking to people, or you're shaking hands with different people. So once you start with yourself and what's internal, what's good with you, then you can kind of move in into really pursuing that passion and putting in those hours and just kind of keeping your head, not focusing on others right now, focusing on what drives you and the work that you want to put out, and really, really crafting, really making sure that you sit there and become a master of your craft. Never stop working and never stop practicing on your craft at all costs, first and foremost. And then taking the time to get out there to, again, shake some hands, talk to some people, make some conversation happen, because you just never know. You know what I'm saying? Um, and with that, again, just removing the fear out of all that. Like, worst thing is people could say no. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's, again, an abundance amount of resources that are out there for you. There is different communities. There is people that are doing things, open mics, whatever. And of course, going back to what I said before, like as an artist, like if you're gonna be an artist, be an artist. Like no, like that's your purpose. Like hone in on that purpose. Like we have the ability to create in all different genres. They're just not unlocked yet. But you have to just dip your toes in the water and really test it out. And you might find a different art form that you really, really enjoy. And that might take off. One thing people always ask me, like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, look, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm involved in so many different things that if one of them takes off to a higher point, like I'm going with that one because I'm in it already. Like I know well enough, but that doesn't mean all the other ones are going to lack. Like I'm still going to be doing other art forms and other art, all those other hats that I wear. But that's the point. Like the more you have to work with. That creates, less fear. You know what I'm saying? Like you have leverage on just your own self on what you can use, what you can utilize. Your hustle starts to come in, so you start bartering those services. You know what I'm saying? Offering different things that you can do, work for free for a little bit. Just really like put yourself out there to the point where like people just know like who you are and you're everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's easier said than done, but start with the craft first, then go from there. So, yeah.
Definitely. No, I love that advice. That's perfect. It's definitely about mindfulness, making sure you're good, and finding yourself and your true passion, and then going for it. Yep, definitely. 100%. Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll start wrapping things up. I just wanted to ask if people want to find out more about you, about the events that you do, where can they find this information?
For sure. So on all platforms, FK_Menace. I mostly use Instagram more than anything for all the events and stuff, all the flyers that I put up. I make myself, all content I make myself, so it's all there. Facebook's another place you can find me. And then all streaming platforms should be FK Menace for any music that I put out as well. And then I have a Squarespace as well, just FK Menace as well. That is lacking a little bit. I haven't been on it, but I'm hoping to release some new products, new music and things like that. So in that time, it'll be updated and I'll have that out for the people as well. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me. That's pretty much it.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I put your Instagram handle in the comments, and we'll definitely, once you get that Squarespace up, we can, definitely send that out for you too. So,
sure.
Yeah, no, well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Frank. It was such an honor having you on, of course. And this, as I mentioned, this is our last Impacto Changemaker Edition episode of RevvED Up. But if you would like to watch the past ones and hear from other Impacto Changemakers, head over to our YouTube channel and be sure to subscribe. The tag is also in the comments. I'll put that there as well. But again, we just want to thank you for joining me today on RevvED Up, and thank you to everyone that tuned in. Frank, it was awesome to hear your story and how you got to where you are today, as well as hearing your family legacy. And you continue to just make an impact through your creations and talents. And I know there's still so much that you plan to accomplish. So continue making that difference, and we look forward to all that you have in store.
Thank you so much. It was an honor. Enjoy your day, guys. Enjoy your week.
Thank you.